This is James Daniel. I'm just getting a roll on here. Haven't checked in for a while. I've been a little bit overtaxed. So I'm trying to catch back up. Today's a summer solstice, so I thought it would be a good time to talk for a few minutes about cosmic love, which is what the summer solstice gives us an opportunity to look at. It is the longest day of the year, which means more sunlight is hitting the earth than any other day of the year, which is always a good thing. So what we're looking at on Earth is an unprecedented level of energy, and it's increasing, by the way, seems to be. We're in a solar maximum. If you look at Stefan Burns' site, he's got a focus on the sun energy, which is striking the earth in an extremely powerful way right now, and has been for a little while. And I think we don't take into account how much solar energy can impact our daily psychic world, but it does. So I just want to make a point of a couple of things, and then we'll take up more in another podcast a little later. But things are changing right now, and they're changing, well, they're always changing. They're changing in the psychic quality of Earth's environment, our atmosphere, particularly the psychic atmosphere, which is the atmosphere in which the invisible energies and the invisible presences make their contact with the material world where we live, unseen mostly by us. So that's at an all-time high and is shifting constantly towards an increasing intensity. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. It's not easy discernible. It's not radical increase, although it's like those frogs being boiled in the water. It goes up 1 degree at a time. You don't notice it's getting too hot till it's too late. But it is overall, it's an increase of the energies that make up our actual reality. And because humanity is only participating in half of that reality by ignoring the energy of love as a welcome reality in our conscious awareness due to its seeming invisibility, we're not taking into consideration that impact on our lives. And we're not placing it into effectiveness to our advantage. And that's a terrible loss for humanity and the cause of all suffering on Earth. If you leave out half of reality, that means you're functioning in illusion. And if you're functioning in illusion because you're not seeing the whole picture, then you're placing a burden upon love. And the burden upon love that is placed there by our acting on illusion, not in harmony with love, is you're asking karma, the nature of karma, which is administered by the lords of karma, who respond to the guidance of those who are cosmic love and solar love and planetary love and so on. You're asking them to keep track of all the actions that we express, unconscious of love, and bring about experiences in our lives that will direct us to realizing the error of our ways. That's all that karma is doing. Well, it may be doing other things I don't know about. It's a pretty big group and concept in action, unfailingly in action, and of enormous size and consequences, not just to our little planet, but throughout the universe. Karma is. It's administered and it guides all sentient and unsentient beings towards harmony and awareness of love as a reality in our lives. So, this is not new. I'm not saying anything that anybody's like, wow, that's a revelation. It's not a revelation. However, the condition that we're entering into is one that is unprecedented to me. I've been following this, working at this, working on this, working with this for probably 60 years. And so I would like to say that in all of that time, I have not seen what's going on now, either on the inner world, where you can look if you open your inner senses, if you open your telepathic abilities, if you open your communication system to the universe, whether it's the inner world or the outer world, it's coming to an unprecedented boil. It's coming to a place of vast change. And if you look around at the world right now, you will see that it's on fire. And it's not just the solar fire, it's just this inner energy pushing outward into the space with action. And if we are not looking at the reality that's pushing out into the space, but acting on only half of it, then we are blind to the consequences of the other half, which is the energy of love, pushing its way out into the surface of our consciousness. So it's a reaction to something that we don't see, and it's causing a negative appearance in the outer world, opposite to what the inner expression is striving to demonstrate. Now, that's not a good thing if it's love, because love pushing towards the outer expression of the world being rejected creates inner turmoil in us and outer negative consequences. And if we put ourselves in a right posture to that expressing energy of love and let it enter into us positively, and then let it manifest through us positively, then we come into harmony with it. And when we come into harmony with it, good flows through our life. That's the intended reality for humanity and has been since the very beginning. But as the saying goes, we went wrong at the beginning and we've been wrong ever since. And wrong is not a good term to use, so I apologize for blaming anybody for being wrong. But because there is no wrong, there's, a lizard can only be a lizard. It can't express qualities of mammals because it's not warm-blooded. So if we are unconscious of love, it is due to ignorance. We're somehow ignoring it in our experience in a way that brings it into manifesting obvious expression and conversation and communication and all of the things that make it a usable aspect of our living. So it's not wrong to ask a lizard to do something that only mammals can do. He's got to evolve for some countless centuries before that reptile becomes a mammal. And so humans who have self-conscious awareness have built into ourselves this capacity to respond to and demonstrate in harmony with love consciously, the same way we consciously relate to pets and animals and each other and weather and things around us that we consider real. Now, we consider being kind towards someone else as loving, and that's real. But that's not the same as the energy that is everywhere in the environment around us being recognized, being drawn into us, and being consciously expressed in a positive way towards all other things. That's when we become a part of the universe as a real being in a real experience with love itself. And humanity is moving towards that always and with great effort. And so now we're on the precipice of a brand new revelation, if we want to think of it that way, of what's actually already real and has been real for, sorry, I got a little kink back there, has been real for centuries. All time, really. So So let's take a quick look at it, because I think it's important to recognize, look around you and see something has changed. Something very powerful has shifted, and it's shifted in a way that needs our attention on it to bring it into harmony with our life experience. And I think that there's a reason why this is happening. The reason is that love itself, which entered the human race some time ago when Jesus was baptized, actually, not to give weight to any religion that talks about it or espouses about it, because they don't have a clear understanding of it either. But this energy, this beingness, this living quality of life has entered into many beings in a fully acceptable way, causing their transformation and transmutation into pure and beautiful expressions of love. And now, whether that's an angelic being that has no dense physical body like we do, or whether it's a planetary being or a solar being, which has a solar system as its body, or a planet as its body, it's still a being that is in harmony with and expressing love through its nature. Now, our planet is in difficulty with this particular ability through its human kingdom, which we are of and in and growing with. It is not fully realized, well, hardly realized, or being expressed. And this creates a number of kinks in the planetary expression, because a human kingdom is a big part of its anatomy. We aren't all of its anatomy by any means, but we are part of its anatomy. We are the what would be called the fourth kingdom. If you count from the bottom up, well, count from the top down, it doesn't matter. There's basically 7 different kingdoms. And from the bottom up, we're fourth. We have mineral kingdom, we have a plant kingdom, we have an animal kingdom, we have a human kingdom. Now, that means that whatever place we are in the middle like that, kingdoms above us and kingdoms below us need communication with one another. Now, we are a kingdom that has self-conscious awareness, which means we are self-conscious. We're aware that we are, which your pet is not, your plant is not, your minerals are not. We are. It is in the fourth kingdom where we become self-conscious and aware. Now, that's not just an ability, it's a responsibility. It's an ability we can use in relationship to higher kingdoms and to lower kingdoms to serve the greater good of the planetary development and evolution and all the lives therein. So what happens if your fourth kingdom is unconscious of half of reality, the love half of reality? What if we just don't get it? Which we should be able to get it because we're self-conscious and aware. We have the gift of it, but we're missing that particular awareness for reasons that are too long to discuss tonight. But we're growing towards it. We're waking up to it. And when we enter into the wholeness of life, to the reality of life, we will leave the illusion of living fully, but without half of life's awareness, the love half, in our consciousness, in our conscious ability. And it is for this that love entered the human race in the presence of Jesus at the baptism of John at the River Jordan 2,000 years ago, a while ago. And entering into and having experience with humans, which is a very dramatic event, considering this living quality that enters into cohabitation with human race, is the love that animates the consciousness of the universe. It's not a small thing. It's not a small being, even for a tiny little planet like us. It's just a major event based on the circumstances of humanity upon this planet and the difficulty we were presenting to ourselves and to the planetary nature in which we live and move and have our being. And this is not to mention how we impact the lower kingdoms, animal, plant, and mineral. It's a very important thing for humanity to discover and apply the nature of love within ourselves. And we can do this. We're going to do this. And in the Aquarian age, we're going to get well onto it, because we're just right now at the very verge of discovering that what I'm talking about in some form or another is actually true. And once we know that, like anything we discover and apply ourselves to, we're going to work it out. We do that. We figure out how to invent things, how to do things. Once we apply ourselves and decide, oh, that's real. I don't know what we were thinking. Why don't we do that? Wouldn't it be nice if we could drive around in cars and fly airplanes and drink Gatorade? So we invent this stuff. Well, you aren't going to invent love, but you can certainly awaken to its reality inside of you and let it interact with you in the way that it does with all the greater beings who have a harmony with it. Now, that depends on our free will choosing to do that, because love doesn't force itself down anyone's throat, except through experiences and karma, which guide us to the understanding of what we are missing. So let's take a look at this for a second and realize that a new experience is coming upon the human race, and it's getting closer and closer, and it will arrive here soon. A year, 2 years, 3 years, but soon. Certainly in the first half of this century, it must. And I think sooner rather than later, but I don't know. So the form of that is a physical demonstration of embodied love on the earth in a human being, human-like being, more spiritual than human. But seeing that, observing that, recognizing that, gives us an insight. It gives us something to look at and go, wow, if that's true, then it's also true for me. How do I model that? How do I take that model of 100% engagement with life, demonstrating the love part of life in myself instead of ignoring it? How do I do that? And if I can do that, I'll replace the model I'm using, or I'll fix it, I'll fill it out, I'll develop it, I'll turn it into a model that's being demonstrated right in front of me. And not only are you going to see that in front of you in the form of the world teacher, which is Lord Maitreya, as he's referred to in the Eastern terminology, or the reappearance of the Christ, as it's looked at in the Western world. But it's a single being, but that single being has friends. And those friends are referred to in the language of Earth as hierarchy, the spiritual hierarchy of our planet. And they're not some obscure group of people that no one knows anything about. They're very well understood by a lot of people on the earth already at this time. They're still invisible to the consciousness of humanity because this whole conversation engaging love is invisible to us. And it is love that they embody along with their leader or their master or their teacher. Now, when that group is observed along with a person embodying this quality of life in perfect harmony with itself and with all nature around it, then we see all these different kinds of manifestations of the same quality, which reinforces its profound and practical application in the human race. Now, we're not in their league because they have not only embodied love into themselves some time ago, they have learned a lot about how to do that, about how to transform themselves and the environment in which they live and move with love in a way that we do not understand because we simply are not doing it. Well, that's learnable and it's teachable. And so we're at a learnable and teachable place. Well, it's a profound impact on humanity when that comes forth into the arena of human living and declares itself in a way that is unmistakably clear. They don't do that now. They don't seek recognition for their capacities and abilities with love because we have not invited that. And they seem so powerful when they are invested with love that they scare world leaders who think only about power in negative terms. Does Russia have the bomb? Does Iran have the bomb? So we worry about beings that have a lot of power, but beings that are in harmony with love and let the power of that invest itself in their will, replacing their will with that will, they have incredible power. The fact that it's the power of love and it is incapable of harming anything in any true sense, then that's not known. That's not known to people who don't understand the nature of love and what it is, that it is an aspect of reality. And because those beings are acting with far more of reality than we are, they look quite different, even though they physically look the same. So this makes up this great hierarchical group, which is described in all of the esoteric books in many, many ways, and by a lot of gurus and a lot of beings from the Hindu and Indian group and the Buddhist group. But they are also described in Christianity and Western spiritual terms because of their sainthood. Sainthood is a step in the direction of demonstrating perfect love in some form or another, healing, incorruptibility, whatever it happens to be. So we have lots of thoughts and opinions about that by looking at it from outside of the experience. And we've been rolling along like that for a couple thousand years, thinking nothing much is going to change because we're pretty slow to come to the party. But that's changing. It's about to change because the civilization that we have created since the Roman civilization is collapsing around us. The systems in it, the methodologies of it, the way in which we apply it to ourselves and to each other through our countries is not sufficient any longer because it lacks this energy of life called love. Love itself is missing in the formation and founding of the very governing systems of these nations. So it's collapsing because without it, there is no permanence. There is no way in which any country or civilization or anything else in the universe can continue to last if it does not evolve love sufficiently to begin to animate its very atomic systems, including our own health. And most of the major diseases of humanity are all result of inhibited love or inhibited soul life. So when we block that energy in our own experience by action, by rejection, then we have a shadow in our form, in some form or another. And there are lots of emotional qualities that will do that, or certain mental attitudes that will do it. So it's no surprise humanity has the diseases that it does and suffers the way it does. We are unconscious even of our own immortality in love, because that's the giver of immortality. And when you shut it off and block it out, you fail to realize your own immortality. You can't stop it, you can't block it, and you still possess it. But you have to die to discover it, don't you? So I'm making this point because of the summer solstice, in which cosmic love that flows throughout the universe and comes to our system through various constellations and solar beings is at an extreme moment in the solstice. And we're still going through Gemini, which is Castor and Pollock, these two brothers, one giving love to the personality and the other personality giving itself to love. So it is itself an expression of the duality of cosmic love. And when we open up to this and begin to take it in and start to inquire in ourselves how to turn the switches on that'll let this consciousness illumine us. You don't have to become a scholar. You don't have to become a Brahmin. You don't have to become a Buddhist. You don't have to become a Christian. You do have to turn something on inside yourself that acknowledges your relationship to the living presence of the universe. It doesn't require anything of you. Love doesn't require anything of you except willingness. Do you want a relationship with it or not? If you express no, then it honors that relationship by honoring your free will and saying, okay, I'll turn my face away. But because you are acting without the creative power of love in your life, you have to be taught through karma, the lords of karma, the lessons of the universe, what it is that's causing you to misunderstand your place in the universe. We are a human race. We are supposed to be endowed with this conscious ability, but we've rejected it. And so it's attempting to help us figure it out. And it does this by a silent system, placing experience in your path that will illumine you to what it is you're rejecting. It's amazing. It's an amazing system, and it worked quite well. It's just slow because we have the opportunity to reject it all over again when the lesson is brought to us. And if we do, then the lesson gets more difficult. Karma gets more difficult because we have exhausted energies of life a second time. And conservation of energy is one of the laws of the universe. We're violating all kinds of laws in the universe when we deny the existence of love in us as an available asset and resource. So take some time to take a look and sense within yourself this intensifying approach into physical manifestation in a human being of perfect love. It's a hell of a remarkable idea, and it's coming. And when it comes and arrives, it will confound many people because there are some so set against the nature and energy of love that they will reject it, and they will reject the one who demonstrates it. And that's an unfortunate situation for them, for their family, for us, for the human family, and eventually leads to that biblical story of Armageddon. Not soon, but down the road. Down the road is where John saw what happens as a final result. And it's described in a negative, sort of negative format. Well, sort of, it's pretty radically negative in the sense that it's really describing what happens to those and with those who have arrived at that unfortunate place in the future and still are refusing to acknowledge not only the reality of love, but their relationship to it. Now, why would we do that? I mean, it's what's real. It's what makes life whole. It's what gives 100% to less than that. Because we're attached to that which is the absence of it. We're attached to the desires that we have that are in us through refusing love. Now, these are referred to colloquially as the temptations of Christ, which are material sensations derived from personal power. Personal power as something separate from all of us, from the group, from life. And it's a misunderstood in the human race at such a level that we cling to it. We think we must have these desires, and that love is so out of harmony with those desires that we can't develop properly if we accept the reality of love. It seems to be an either or choice, but it is not an either or choice. There is an enormously long period of time in which we work out our selfishness, knowing that we are moving towards harmony with love, where there is no selfishness and there is selflessness, where your separated self isn't a necessary entity, because your personality can be in perfect harmony with every other life in the universe and still own its own identity. No one's required to give up individual identity for group identity. They coexist. They coexist until some point, perhaps way in the future, when you decide you no longer need individual identity, because the group identity includes individual identity at such a level that you lose nothing by letting go of it. I don't know. I presume that's a possibility, which takes you back into full union with the whole, and yet you have all the experience of your individuality and in your free will in a way that's unknown to us now. The universe holds great mysteries for us to unfold and apprehend. But first, we must come to this reckoning with love. And a reckoning it is. and we must come to ourselves, in ourselves, deciding that it is a reckoning you want. If it's reality, what are you going to do about it? You're either going to become part of reality, or you're going to resist it in a way that creates a separation from it, causing you to be what the human race looks like today. A warring, scared, antagonistic group of people that can't seem to get along. So let's stop that. Let's find a way to reform our thinking, apply a new model of identity to the model that we're currently using, no matter what that change brings about, and begin to unfold that model in our life and see, at least as an experiment on yourself, if it becomes something incredibly valuable to you and to other people. And if it is, you'll be glad you made that change. If it isn't, reject it and go back to whatever you're doing, or on to something new. We have the right to experiment with ourselves and not anyone else. And the situation is so serious and so deeply flawed and in such need of repair that we must experiment on ourselves towards something better than what we are already expressing. And it is those creative artists of the world who do experiment on themselves and bring out something new to demonstrate for people that wherein lies the hope of the world. Because out of them we will find the ones that get it right, and we will then go, that's it, that's what I'm going to try, I'm going to do that. Now, in an unprecedented way, ever since we lost the Christ the first time, when we decided to put him to death because we didn't trust him, we have the opportunity to have before us in the world a new demonstration of that, enhanced and upgraded, because that being now possesses the will of the divine being in which the universe functions, which will is harmony itself. So that, along with love, demonstrating in the human race as a human, is a remarkable opportunity for us to look forward to and to consider it in ourselves as a positive possibility. And should you discover it in the future around you, Don't be too quick to reject it because it looks quite different than how you think about things. But it is coming, and then because it's coming, it's pushing and distorting all the lines of reality around us, because the lines around us aren't real, because they're missing this quality. And this quality impinging on the illusion that we're all harvesting and sharing with each other as the grand illusion of humanity is creating quite a disturbance. Now, that's all going on this solstice day and every other day that we live. So open up, take it in, give yourself a place to have some considerations about this. We will talk about it until it is clear, until it becomes evident. And we can look at the world situations. We can look at Trump bombing Iran's nuclear passions to be able to blow up Israel and all of that fantasy stuff going on in the minds of these lunatics. We can look at all of that going on in the world around us, and we can have all kinds of opinions about it. But if you see it in the absence of love that is causing it to try to form and not be able to form a group unified experience, then you will begin to understand why this energy must find its way into each individual consciousness, and through our consciousness and people all over the world out into the world's embrace of understanding, and say, well, look, let's think about this a little bigger. Let's take a look and see if what we're missing can change how we live. And it will, totally and completely. Thank you, everybody. That's enough of this for today. So I will, if I can remember how to shut this thing off. I'm not the best at this tech stuff, but take care, be well, be aware. See you next time.